Hi, everybody. If you could let me know that you can hear me, that would be wonderful.
I can hear you.
Fantastic. Hi, Janet.
How are you?
Good.
Hi, everybody else.
How many do we have on tonight? And I see we have, okay. I'm like multitasking. I think I'm the only one of the admins on. So let me get rid of all of this wonderful contraptions. There. So, how is everybody today? Everybody good? Can you
Yeah,
hear me?
everybody's fantastic. I'm fantastic. I hope
Good.
everybody else is.
Yeah, good, good. Over on YouTube, if there's anybody on there, if you can let me know that you can hear this, that would be great. If somebody could put in the chat that they can hear, that would be wonderful. All right. So today we're going to be creating, and I think you can see on the screen the picture of the painting that we are going to be working on. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. Can you all see that? So I don't think we'll get through the whole process tonight, but I do think we can get quite a ways through it. At least we can figure out, we'll get the layout, we can decide on the direction that the light is coming from, whether it's going to be from the right or the left, and then get our rocks in and get our road in. So how many of you have Brusho? Does everybody that's online?
I do. I know I do.
You do? Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Good, good. Okay. So in the process of laying this out, and I'm going to start from scratch, I'm using Stonehenge Aqua watercolor paper, 140-pound cold press. So it has a little bit of tooth to it. I don't know if you can kind of see that. Did my camera
It's a little blurry.
it's blurry. Yeah, why?
Maybe because you're moving it.
Yeah, usually. Ah, well, shoot. Carries On, which airs tomorrow night. It's an inside look at the Queen's life and legacy. Wonder if my lighting is what's. Is that better? By the way, Gail has a fascinating interview with Paul McCartney in this special. It's a little better.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to say maybe if everybody can mute themselves, we won't hear any background.
I can go through and mute. All right. Is that better? See, I think everybody's muted now. There we go. So I've not had this trouble of it being so blurry. I wonder what, shoot. Well, I hope it settles down. Well, let's move on. We're using, as I said, the 140-pound Stonehenge Aqua watercolor. It's a rag paper, and it's archival. I love this paper. It's one of my favorite papers to work on. It really works well with Brusho. I'm going to mute Marlene. There we go. And I've also used Arches. A lot of people use Arches watercolor paper. For me, Arches doesn't react as well with using bleach. So I really kind of tend towards the Stonehenge Aqua, or I also use Bockingford. I like Bockingford also. And this went out of focus again, didn't it? Is that better? Is that more in focus? Well, I hope I don't continue to have this problem. Oh, it's in focus for you? Thank you, Rebecca. Okay, so when we're laying this painting out, we want to decide, and I always try to go with some of the rules of composition where you work in thirds. You know, you don't center something directly in the middle. I do have a tendency of breaking that rule a lot, and I'm going to mute you. There you go. So, but in this painting, I really do want to keep it broken into thirds because I want my horizon line more in the third of the bottom third of the paper, and then the trees and the sky in the top part. So what I'm going to do is, well, it's out of focus again. I do apologize for that. I have no idea why it's going out of focus. So in laying this out, and I always have a tendency of starting my drawings, if I'm doing like a landscape and there's a road or a path, I seem to have a tendency of always starting it in the bottom lower corner. And I want to curve it up and go almost to the third, and I'm just kind of ballparking it. That's pretty close. And then come in from this side, and it can be kind of curving around. And as it goes off into the distance, of course, it gets smaller. One of the other things I'm using is a Cold Ease pencil. These are erasable. They're by Prismacolor, and you can go in and erase these really easily off of the paper. This one is the Tuscan Red, and I get them in a set of 12 different colors. So that's what I'm sketching with. And I want my rocks to be a little higher on this side. And I'm just kind of sketching them in. I'm not going to hold true to these because I'm going to let the Brusho kind of do the work, but they're going to get smaller as they go off kind of in the distance and get to the end of the horizon line. You can kind of just ballpark in. And again, I'm just kind of glancing up at my reference just to see how my rocks, they kind of go off down into an angle. So direction wise, I think I want my sun, as how I've laid this out, the light to be coming from the right hand corner. So my direction is going to be kind of this way for the light. So what that means is going to be casting a shadow over on the left hand side, and the highlights on the rocks and the road are going to be coming in from the right hand side. So I'm just going to kind of ballpark in some more rocks, just throwing them in.
Jan,
Yes.
question.
Yeah.
You said the light was coming in from the right. Isn't it coming in from the left?
Is it mirrored image for you? I bet it's a mirrored image.
Well, yeah, it's looking like it's coming from the left for me.
Okay. So I'm having it come in from this direction. So for you, I guess, yeah, it's a mirrored image because of how it's videoing. So it's coming in this direction, and it's going to be hitting the rocks on this side. I always forget that it flips it. It's mirrored.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Now, what I'm going to do is you could use masking fluid, and the masking fluid that I use is, and it is, look at that, the writing is wrong, is the Pebo, P-E-B-E-O drawing gum. But when you do that, you get a tendency of having very hard lines where the masking fluid, the drawing gum ends and your water, your Brusho hits, you end up having hard lines. And with this drawing, I really don't want the hard lines. So I'm going to be using, this is made by Colorcraft. It's one of their wax sticks that they sell along with Brusho. I'm going to use that, and I'm also going to be using just a piece of white candle. So any wax, a kid's crayon, anything that's going to leave like a white or a clear color, you can use. And what that does, it works as a resist. It works the same as your drawing gum, except you cannot lift it. Once you put this down, this is going to stay. So you can't go in and lift this back up like you can the masking fluid, the drawing gum, where once it's the drawing gum, the masking fluid is dry, you can go in, lift it up, and paint over the top of it. This stays down. So when you put this in, you really kind of need to know where you're applying it, the effect that you want. Do you want a solid line? Do you want it to have kind of a rough texture so that the water gets in maybe some of the little openings that you would leave? I call them little see-throughs. Terry Madden, I grew up watching Terry Madden. He was a watercolorist on the PBS stations here in the States. I don't know if we have anybody from the UK or where you don't have PBS channels, but Terry Madden was a really fabulous watercolorist. And he would go through and he would say when he was painting, putting color down, putting water down, he would leave what he called little see-throughs. So I picked up that and I just kind of always go with it. So let's go through and let's highlight some of these areas. Now, roughly you can see where I kind of sketched lightly in some rocks. Now, I'm probably not going to follow those exactly because I'm going to then sprinkle my Brusho on, and I want it to kind of create its own effect of what these rocks look like. So we're just kind of ballparking it. And I do want just a little here. And see, I tended up, I picked up the candle instead of the stick. So it really doesn't matter. And you're not going to be able to see this on the video, the camera. I'll try and pick it up and see if I can get some kind of a reflection. I don't think you can. Can you see just that little bit of a shine in the paper where the light's picking up? What I'm doing is just kind of scribbling in what these rocks might look like. And let's see, on this side, again, our light is coming from this direction, so there's going to be more highlight along the left edge for you. It's the right edge for me. And I've done this painting several times. I've done this painting in a couple workshops, and it never turns out exactly the same, which is really cool. And when you do a workshop, everyone's turns out differently. So again, I don't know if you can kind of see. Can you barely see where the shine is on the paper, where the wax is? Just a little bit. Now I can use this, it has a point, and I can go in and maybe add just a few more. Gertie. Oh, that's dirty. Sorry about that. My dog is home with me. Shh. Hey. Let me take a break and get rid of my dog. Go on. Okay, so I have a question. So are you drawing rocks with the wax? What I'm doing is I'm putting the highlight from the direction the light is coming from on my rocks. And again, I apologize for the dog barking. So is anyone drawing or painting along? I don't know. Is anyone drawing or painting along? No? Oh.
I learned better just watching.
Okay. Someone said they are. I can't see who actually said they were following along. Jean is. Oh, this will be fun. So you can see there's going to be a dirty spot in the painting. There's a dirty spot on the marker. Not marker, the wax resist. So just add a little more. I'm just trying to go in and make sure I have enough of the highlights in here. So if you are, Jean, you're doing this along with me, definitely have to post this over in the Brusho Fun group if you're a member. If not, over on Facebook, we have the Brusho Fun group. And we would love to have you join if you're not a member already. Okay, so see if I can get this up a little bit. I'm using a kneaded eraser, and where the wax resist was dirty, I'm just trying to see if that's going to come up, and it's not. So you know what? We're going to have a little extra texture. It's always fun to get those, what do they call them? They're not mistakes, they're happy accidents. So, and that rock is going to have extra texture. On the road, I'm just adding a little bit of the wax resist. Not heavy. I'm not pushing down heavy at all, so really that's hardly going to show. But this is kind of a worn path, and I want to add just a little bit of the resist there so that it's not having, hopefully the Brusho doesn't all go in there. Now I'm going to try and keep this drier and away from the Brusho on my path for right now. So I want to cover that over. I have just a spray bottle. It's a $1 spray bottle that I'm going to be using. It has water in it. I have next to me my pot, just my bucket of water that I rinse my brushes in. And for now, I'm not even going to be picking up a brush. I'm going to just be sprinkling. And I think just to change this up a little bit today, I'm going to be using the gray. And if you have your swatches made that we did the past few weeks, this is the gray. So I'm going to be using the gray. And the gray has some of the rust color in it, so I think that'll go really good with these rocks. And then for the shadows, and now my pup is whining. I don't know if you can hear her whining. For the shadows, I'm going to be going in then and doing with Prussian blue. And again, I'm going to be doing this only with the Brusho watercolors. So when we did the swatches, one of the other things that we want to figure at this point is how heavy do we want our sprinkles to be? The top part is where I sprinkled the Brusho and then sprayed with the water, and you get a heavier mixture. The center again is where I used diluted Brusho. And then the bottom is where I sprayed with water and then sprinkled my Brusho. So I kind of think I want maybe this look. I don't want those rocks real heavy with the colors. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to spray first and then I'm going to sprinkle. And so I'm putting a towel down. And let's get a towel just to keep some of the Brusho off of the top part when I do it. And I'm using my gray. And you can see it did get into the road a little bit, but that's okay. Blow that over. And what I'm using is just a puffer. These are for cameras to clean the lens of a camera off. They have pretty good force of air that comes out. And I just want to blow a little bit of that color around. Just to add a little more texture in those rocks. And I want it up a little higher on that rock. Excuse me, just a minute. I have a dog that's going to get in trouble. So I just kind of want to let this go ahead, do its own thing, kind of mix, and then we'll go in and add water, decide where we're going to want these rocks a little heavier with color. So I'm going to do the same thing, trying to keep some of that Brusho so it's not transferring up all into where the trees are going to be. You can already see where it's transferred, it's sprinkled over into the rocks. I do want this water to come a little closer to the edge of the road. So I'm just going to add a little bit of water. And kind of let it go. And what that is, the brush that I was just using, this one is called, it's a Petite GRT Gris, G-R-I-S. And it's more like a mop brush. These hold a lot of water. You can see they don't have the metal piece. They're wrapped, it's like it's a plastic, and then they have wire that wraps it all together and holds it. I have another brand. Well, I guess it's the same brand. It's the Petite GRIS. And you can see how full that brush is. And they just hold so much water. I love painting with these brushes. Can you see all of the colors in the gray? There's blues, there's yellows, oranges. Those rocks are going to be so cool when they're finally done. I'm just trying to pick up the paper and move it around a little bit. And right now you're not going to see a lot of that wax resist in there until it actually starts to dry. Now I'm going in with my mop brush. And I just want to add a little bit more water for texture. Just kind of dabbing. Again, these are rocks, so it really doesn't matter the shapes and the sizes because we want them very organic looking. If you get a little heavy or it goes up higher than where you want, you can always just kind of dab it. So Can you start to see the formation of the rocks in there? Look at the color in there, how beautiful that is. Now the hard part with this, I do want to make this come out and be, so it's going kind of around the corner. So I'm getting my distance in there as it narrows down. I'm going to kind of let that dry. So someone said that's why they love the Brusho. Oh, you need to get the gray. Yeah, it's the gray and the black are some of my favorite colors, and I never use black where I dilute it down because I think once you mix all those colors, it's very flat. What I like to do is sprinkle it and then see the colors emerge from that. I would go into senior centers, nursing homes, and I would work with seniors and we would do paintings just kind of to help them out, and they loved it. And that would be the very first thing I would do. I use these plastic, I call them a gator board. They're kind of like waffles. And we would sit down and I would say, okay, get the black out and sprinkle some on your board, spray it with water, and they were just truly, truly amazed at the colors that emerged. Oh, that's a great idea, using a straw for the puffing. Yep. A lot of people do that with alcohol inks. I don't know if any of you are familiar with alcohol inks, but alcohol inks, a lot of times people will use the puffer, or they'll go through and they'll use a straw to get the inks to move around and to form. I like to do this. I like the lines, the different textures that it builds into a painting. I don't know if anybody saw the gorilla that I did. A lot of those lines, no, it wasn't a gorilla, the orangutan. A lot of those lines were done with my puffer. So what I'm trying to see now is where, as this starts to build and starts to develop my rocks, where are the lines for the rocks? And it's going to be kind of hard to do tonight, and so we may go back in next week and we build those rocks out. But you can start to see as it starts to dry where the water and the color is pulling away, where that crayon, not the crayon, but the wax resist is. You can see how it's kind of pulling away from it. So once that's dry, that's going to go in and start to build my shapes. So you can kind of start to see where here's the start shape of a rock. So I'll go in and then put the shadows in so that we actually start to build the definition, the shapes of the rock. Right here's a really great rock. Here's another rock in here.
Jan, would you do that with watercolor or still stick with Brusho to do that?
I will go in with Brusho and do it. What I'll do is, and I may change my mind on this, as I see this drying, what I was envisioning is that the Prussian blue would be the right color. I might go in and use a different blue, but I'll wait until this is totally dry. But this is what I do, and let me move this away. This is a tree that I'm working on. So what I would do if I wanted to use the Prussian blue I would just dab, sprinkle a little on my board. Dilute it down a little bit. And say I wanted to build a little more color along this side of the tree. And this might be a good one that we can do as one of the demonstrations. I'll go in and kind of bleed it out. I'll just use the same brush. Now, if you want texture in there, where that's wet, I don't want the gray. You can go in then and just sprinkle a little to get a little of that texture in there. So once you've gone in and added your water and you added a little bit of that color, it pulls those textures out, if you can see that on the camera. Is this tree one that you would like to do possibly? Yeah. But you can see how organic now, and especially with a tree like this where you've got all of these textures in the bark, you want it to go in and kind of bleed out and spread out so that you're getting a lot of different shapes and sizes. I'm going to pick that gray up yet and sprinkle it. But look how that's bled out over here. Look how organic that looks. Here's another way that if I have a piece of paper, if you're having a hard time getting your sprinkles to go in a direction, if you take a piece of paper, fold it, you can direct it. It's kind of hard to do on the camera, but you can direct it to go more in that area. By, having it follow down that fold in your paper. And then, as long as your paper's not wet, you can then move those little crystals around with your straw or your puffer. And if it's not enough water there, if it's dried up, you can always go in and drop in a little water. Kind of using a controlled amount of water on your brush. I have crystals rolling all over the place now. So, hope that helps in how you can, go in and blend and bleed things out. That's what we'll end up doing. Let me mop this up so I don't have a total disaster of a mess. That's what we'll end up doing as these start to dry. And you can see how the rocks are all starting to form now. Over on this side. So depending on how far you guys want to go this evening, how are we doing on time? we getting close to an hour? So I don't really want, I was hoping this would dry a little faster. Let's see.
Do you ever use a hair dryer to dry these?
I do. I really like them to dry naturally rather than drying. I think using the hair dryer sometimes it makes the colors not as vibrant. I love to have them just kind of dry on their own. See, what I want to do is grab my blues. And this is why I love my color swatches. I want to see if that, here's the Prussian blue that I was going to use. That might be a little dark. And that's probably going to be a little too bright. What about, and purple won't work. The violet won't work. Those are the violets and the violet and the purple. That's not going to work good for adding your, there's Ost blue. Ooh, I kind of like that. What do you think? That might work. You don't like that. Cobalt. It's too blue. So for me to go in and do those shadows, it's either the Prussian blue or the Ost blue. See, tried getting them from Cheap Joe's and they're back ordered. Oh, really? Their colors are back ordered. Think I'll try the, maybe I'll go with the Prussian blue. Although I like the purples, but there's no real purples in here. Now let's stick with the Prussian blue.
Mix it up and use both.
I'm sorry, say again?
Mix it up and use both.
Yeah, I could. And a lot of times I will. I'll start with one color and it's like, nah, I don't know. That's probably not the right color, and then I change it up. Have any of you tried using a very limited palette where you're only using like 3 colors? On the orangutan, I did that. I don't know if you saw this one on Facebook on the Brusho Fun group. Can you see him? My goat. That's done with only 3 colors. That's done with the Ost blue, violet, and yellow ochre. And doing that, you can get your greens. You know, your colors are mixing. So sometimes, you know, you don't even have to add that other color, that 4th color. You can do it with the 3 colors and get those others, like the greens and the, you know, mixing. Okay, this is still pretty wet. Let's go in. It's going to bleed a little bit, but that's okay. I'm all about happy accidents and getting things to bleed out.
I was taking a watercolor class and it just wasn't turning out right. And so I took some Elegant Writer and I just started to outline everything. And then I used Brusho in there. And the teacher actually liked it. Yeah, here, I'll show you. Can you see it?
Oh, pretty. Yeah. Well, the cool part about the elegant writers is they bleed out. And there's all kinds of colors in them. So let's put a little bit in here where you would have some shadow along the edge of that road. So anybody that's not familiar with what we're talking about, they're like a magic marker. They're made by Speedball Art, and the colors in them, and you're not going to see it quite as much here, but the colors are amazing and how they bleed. So can you see how there's purples in here? And that's what's fun about art, is what you can do and what you can create from all different colors. Let's add just a little bit along here.
Here's one I did of a tree with elegant writer.
Oh, look at that. Yep.
And Brusho.
You went in with Brusho along with it, huh? I did one, when I first found out about the elegant writers, and I did like a tree stump with all of the roots and it turned out so pretty. Let me turn this. Thank you so much about bringing up the elegant writers. I hadn't thought about them in quite a while. And I just want to bleed these out just a little bit more. But you can see how after this sits a while and that color keeps drifting out, there's purples in there and the greens. It's very, very beautiful. So yeah, you can use a lot of different things along with your Brusho. You can use traditional watercolors. You can use acrylics. There's a lot of different things that you can use alongside. Colored pencils. I'll lay a wash down of the colors that I want to do, and I'll do this a lot with like pet portraits. So if they have a dark, their ears are dark, I'll lay Brusho down or watercolor down, and then go back over with the colored pencil and add all of the definition, and that adds a little more texture to it and not quite as many layers. If you're familiar with colored pencils, it's layers upon layers upon layers to get the depth and to get the coverage. And with laying a wash of color down behind, it really helps to not have to do quite as many layers as you normally would. So it's starting to dry. I love this color effect in here where it's bleeding out. If this was totally dry, I might even go in with the elegant writer now that I've done this and put some of those. I don't think I can do it with this now. I think it's going to be too wet. And just kind of build around some of these. See if this works. It's always so much fun to play. Ooh, that's pretty. What do you think? And then you can go in remembering what direction your light is coming from, because you want your lighter colors the direction that the sun or your light is coming. If you think it's a little heavy, you can always blot it up. That's really pretty. I like that. Great idea, Janet. Thanks. So we can have maybe more of a rock down here. And this can be a long process as you build up your rocks. And you just kind of get lost in creating them. Adding just a little bit of the gray just to give it a little more of the other colors in the oranges, just to get some of those to pop a little bit. Let's see. That's pretty cool. This side's a lot drier. Let's go in and just do a little bit of the and I'm just picking areas. There's no right area. There's no, I'm just kind of trying to let it think on its own where the dark colors want to be. The ones that are following along, how are your paintings coming? Oh, Rebecca, you gave up? No, why? Okay, tell me what kind of a big mess. What are you getting?
Mostly I have it go everywhere, and then it looks not wet enough because it's just little speckles of color. So then I wet it and then I have a muddy mess. And so I keep making it worse.
Oh, no, no. I
And
bet you're being more critical on yourself than...
I've tried to incorporate it into my other watercolor work, and I just find that I'm not able to control it very well, but I haven't worked with it a lot either.
Don't give up on it, please. It can be
Okay.
a challenge. It can be frustrating. All of us that have used it, you know, it really, at times it can be a frustrating medium, but don't give up on it.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, definitely. So what I'm going to do now is just kind of really let this dry, and maybe I'll put some, I'll keep messing. It's just awful how I do. And I'll probably end up going back in and lifting some of this out to make a little more, and I do that with bleach and water. But I think it's starting to look like rocks. What do you guys think? Do you think it's starting to look a little rocky? Looks a little different than the browns. I'm not sure. I like the grays though. So I think next week what we'll do is this will have a chance to totally dry. And then next week we'll come in and we'll start laying our trees in. And we will then add our leaves. So kind of decide, you know, what would you guys like? Would you like it more of a spring, summer type of look? Or would you like it more kind of like fall, autumn? You guys tell me, what direction do you want to go with this? Spring and summer, kind of like the one that's up on the screen now? Okay, we can do that. And with that one, I use some Prussian blue, I used some yellow, and I believe I used the probably leaf green because I like to get the lights coming in. But I do want to let this dry because I want to make sure I get a lot of these gray particles off that I have so I don't get a ton of cross contamination. Probably also I'll go back in next week or the following week, depending on how long this one takes, and go in with some bleach and water and pick up. And I'll be real curious to see what the bleach and water does with the Elegant Writer, if that will lighten those areas up or if that's not going to, you know, lighten. So I love doing these. I hope you guys are having fun with doing these live presentations. I'll go ahead and also add this into the Fine Art Cafe Academy. under Brusho Colors, I have the other videos where we did the swatches and then we went in with the bleach and with Melton. I'll continue to build on that and add those to this. And we'll have a whole series in there. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm going to stop now, let it dry. We'll come back next week and we will work on the top area. So I hope everyone's having a good time. What ratio of bleach and water? I start off with 50-50. Depending on the strength. Now, I did buy a new bottle of bleach and it's concentrated. It's extremely strong. So that is kind of bleaching things out. These are the swatches that I did last week. And you can see where this side is the bleach. The bleach really lifted. And it actually even lifted some of the color off of the black Stonehenge Aqua watercolor paper. So that bleach is very, very strong. This side was the Melton. And you guys familiar with Melton? It's from the UK. It's a baby bottle sterilizer. And it comes... You can buy it in a bottle from the UK, if you can get them to ship it to you now, I'm not sure. Or you can get it in the tablets. And I only used a half of a tablet in, I think it was, so this was like 12 ounces. And one tablet equals 5 liters, which is like 21 cups. So I really use it a lot stronger than what they tell you to mix it. But over in the UK, this is available. And they sterilize baby bottles with it. And this will bleach out this bleaches out Brusho. Now, it doesn't always bleach it as strong as the regular bleach does, but again, the concentrate that I have, and I'm going to really have to work with it and figure out what strength and how much more water to add to it for just the regular household bleach. Like I said, it was concentrated. It was all I could find at the store. So regular household bleach that you buy, not the concentrated, I use a 50-50 ratio starting off. If I want it to lift less, I add more water. If I want it to lift more, then I go ahead and I use it a little stronger. The Melton, you can see, didn't take it back quite the same. Now, oops. On these color swatches, this was just regular household bleach, not the concentrate, and you can see it lifted pretty close to the Melton. In the yellow, it's very, very close. But what I'm finding with the tablets in the Melton, it doesn't hold its strength as long as the bleach does. So I'll just probably continue using the bleach. The Melton doesn't have that strong smell that the bleach has. So as long as you can have a window open or, ventilation, that the bleach doesn't bother you, go ahead and use it. Just be really, really careful. Do I use a special brush? Yes, I do. I have inexpensive brushes that I picked up that I use with my bleach. I really don't want to take a chance and ruin my good brushes. I know a lot of people, they use it, they don't have an issue with it. I just don't want to take a chance. Can you use salt? Yes, you can use salt. You can use cling wrap. If you use the cling wrap, the saran wrap, the it leaves the kind of lines, and so that would be great with like trees or grasses to get that. The salt works. It leaves that kind of like a, I don't know what you want to call it, blossom type effect with the salt. So yeah, all of that works with Brusho. Brusho is pretty much just, pigmented color. And so it's going to react a lot like your watercolors do. Any other questions? And hopefully I don't know if I've missed any. Let me go scroll through here and see. The no spill bleach, boy, is that the kind of the gel bleach? You give it a try. I don't know. I would say yes. What I wouldn't want you to do is use it too strong on your paper. I don't know how your paper is going to react. Stonehenge Aqua is a rag paper, so it bleaches the same as like cotton, where like you throw whites in, the wash, you throw bleach in to lighten them, to clean, whiten them up. If you use too much on cotton, it starts to deteriorate the fibers in your clothing. So I would say if you kept using it over and over again on your paper, it's going to break down through the sizing, and it might do something to the paper. But with the ratio that you're starting off using, the 50-50, I don't think that's going to be a problem. I'd just be really, really careful with that real heavy concentrated. Boy, that concentrated that I bought, it's a liquid, it's not thick, and it is really strong. The odor even gets to you. So are there any other questions? Did I miss anything? Trying to scroll through here. Ratio, we're going to do spring, we're going to do summer. They look like rocks, so that's good. I'm glad. Special brush, yes, I answered that. I think I've covered all of the questions. If you have any questions, let me know. In Brusho Fun, if everybody's a member of Brusho Fun, if you have questions, let me know there and we'll get them answered. Like the rocks, nice blue. You like that blue in the rocks? I think I like that. It really makes it different. We'll go in and lift some and adding more textures. So again, thank you very much. We will see you next week, next Thursday, same time. And post your good stuff on the Brusho Fun group. Also, if you want to learn a little more, there's really great demos. A lot of the, all of the instructors on the Fine Art Cafe Academy, they're also members in the Brusho Fun group. Great, great tutorials there, great classes there. So give it a try, and we will see you soon. Thanks, everybody. Bye.